Your app uses a tab bar controller to switch between your action game and an option screen. If the user is playing the game and presses the tab to go to the option screen, you want your game to pause and resume when the user returns. Here's how. For this simple demo, we'll start with a single view application. I'll call mine timer, alert, app. And there we have our files, view controller H, view controller M. We're going to be tabbing between two view controllers, so we need a second one. So I'm going up to File, New, File. Might be above the screen that you can see. I apologize for that. So I'll call this second view controller. Second VC will do. I don't care what I call it because I'm not even going to mention it again in this little tutorial, except to say there are the files for them. I'll tuck them under there, but we're not going to use them. Okay, we'll go to the storyboard, and the storyboard shows there's the view controller. We'll have to put the second one in because we're going to tab between two of them, but we need a tab bar controller in the first place. So what we do is we highlight this one and we go to Editor, embed in tab bar controller. Okay, so we've got our tab bar controller, and it's got one item down here. You can't see it, it's too small, I can't read it myself. But if you click that tab, it will go over to here, and we want a second view controller, so we'll put that in there. And to set a tab for that, we're going to hold the control key down, drag over to here, pick view controllers. So we have two C's, and our tab bar controller now shows two tabs. They both say item. We can go up here and name them both, but I don't care for the purposes of this little demo what they're called. So let's add a couple, three objects. We'll put a label here. I'm sorry, I got to back out. Okay, now we put a label here. I'll call this timer countdown. And we'll put a label down here. Call this second. That's just so when we go there, we'll be able to see it. And we'll put a button here. Call that start timer. Alright, over to view controller H, and we'll have to view controller H, we'll put in there some programming there. Now I have it typed in Word just off the page, so I'll just paste it in so we won't have to waste time with me typing it. You can see what we've got here. We've got the button start timer, and we have the label timer count label, and in between here we've set up an IB outlet and a timer for the timer itself. We have one action, button pressed. Alright, let's go to the M file, and I'll pick that up. Here it is. Let's take a quick look at it. There are four variables that are going to be used in this view controller. First one, timer count, an integer, and the timer interval 1, that will stand for 1 second. Our timer count is going to count up to 3, counting by seconds. We're going to keep track of whether the timer has turned on and off with this Boolean. Timer was started equal no, and then we've got last timer count equals 0. Last timer count is going to remember the timer count when we tab to the other view controller. Here we synthesize timer count label because timer count label is going to be changed, and we declared a property for it in the previous screen. If you press the button, here's what we do. If there's no timer, turns it on. This says the timer interval here is going to be counting by 1 second. And every time a second passes, it triggers and it goes to the selector count, that means it's going to go to the method called count, which you see below near the bottom of the screen. When we tab from this view controller to the next view controller, this routine view will disappear, is automatically executed. I have an NS log here just to show me that we got in here while I was working on this one. This says if there is a timer, then announce that the timer was started. Timer was started equals yes. Last timer count equals timer count. We save the timer count for use later. Turn off the timer. Now after tabbing over to the second view controller, when we tab back, this one is executed automatically. View will appear. And this says, if timer was started, then turn on the timer, set timer count equal to the last timer count, and set last timer count equals 0. You don't have to do this last one. In fact, if you do, we didn't even have to use timer was started because we could have checked to see whether last timer count was 0 or not 0. But I like using the yes/no on that for readability. And here's the count routine, which is executed every second. The timer count's increased by 1. Timer count label contains the text. It says timer countdown equals %i, and %i is just like an NS logs. It's an integer which is going to hold 3 minus the timer count. So my timer count's going up to 3, so 3 minus timer count is going down to 0. This says if timer count is greater than or equal to 3, turn off the timer and pop up this alert view. The alert view has a title and a message, kind of boring, and an OK button. This shows it, and that's all the coding we need. We'll go to the storyboard, and what we have to do quickly is connect up the objects. So if we take view controller here highlighted, hold the control key down, we'll come down to the label, that's timer count label, start back up from view controller, control key down, drag down to the button, that's start timer. Now the button has an action, so we start up the button and go up to the view controller and pick button pressed. I find this way more convenient than dragging all the way over onto here to the buttons. Well, we should be ready to go. We press run. Here we are. Timer countdown. We press start timer. 3, 2, 1, 0. Alert. Okay. I'll go over to the tab button. I'm sorry, it's below your screen. Though I set this up, unfortunately. But there we are. We tab over to the second one. Tab back. And here we are on the first one. So now let's interrupt the timer. Start timer. 3, 2, tab. Now we're on our second one. We'll wait a few seconds. That's enough time for the timer to time out, right? Go back to the first one. 1, 0. There we go. So we successfully made a tab bar controller which tabs from one screen to the other, interrupting the timer and starting it again when we get back. You'd use that if you had a running game and you wanted the user to be able to click over to the option screen and turn off the music or something, and then click back to your main screen and continue on playing where the user left off. I'm in no way an experienced xCode programmer. It seems like everything I learn, I forget pretty easily. And since the best way to try to remember is to try and teach somebody, that's why I've made up this little tutorial for you. So thank you for listening, because it's helping me learn. Good day.